Well, welcome, SharePoint Dev Weekly. This is episode 48, and we have a visitor in this call. Visitor, so, because we don't work that often together, right, Bert?
Well, actually, I haven't seen you for more than a month now, so
that's like, actually true.
Who's the stranger in the blue shirt?
Yes. Yeah, that is so true. Because you've been on vacation. I was first on vacation, then you were being on vacation, and our vacations kind of.
Yep, we strategically planned vacation.
Yes, we maximized our availability on work time 24/7. No, never mind. It is your first day after the vacation, right?
It's my first hours after vacation. Yeah. It's kind of still getting used to it, getting into it. You see, my desk is still
clean,
super clean and tidy, but that will change in a couple of days. But yeah,
and you're still smiling. So,
well, I hope I still will be smiling for a couple of weeks though. So, but let's see how that goes.
I don't. It's an act. Actually, I'm crying inside already after 2 weeks. No, just kidding. There's so much.
Microsoft.
If you could only see the tears inside of me. No. Just kidding. There's just way too much interesting stuff to do, actually. And it's a new fiscal year. Getting super excited we're finally figuring out all the budgets and working plan and everything else. And now this looks really interesting. Ignite is coming way too fast as well, because there isn't time to get everything done for Ignite. So I'll promise a lot of the people who are watching this, I will promise there will be a lot of smoke and mirrors when we're doing Ikea. But don't tell that to my management chain, because they don't like us to say that. Anyway, this is getting recorded. Damn.
Scratch, smoke and mirrors. Just smoke.
Exactly. We need to do the beep, 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 beep during the audio fixes.
Or we just postpone Ignite a couple of months.
That's actually a great
That's easier.
Absolutely. We could actually, that's a great thing. It's almost like every now and then, I know that you used to have these calls as well, where you used to feel compelled on going to those meetings which were set up in 2 a.m. in the morning or 4 a.m. in the morning, and you wake up and like 5 minutes before the call, because super important call. 5 minutes to 4 a.m. in the morning, you go to your computer, open up the computer, and bing, there's the email which is saying, we're going to cancel the call today. Which is like, thank you for that. Thank you.
Been there, done that.
Or you wait until the midnight for the super important call, which is getting canceled 10 minutes before that. I forgot about cancel this. Wasn't doing anything special this evening. Quite typical for the remote people. So,
but to be honest, the folks more and more getting used to working in this kind of model, and that happens less compared to like years ago. Meaning
that is true. That's true. Yeah, I think that if you think about even the SharePoint team, there's much more happening now across the world in multiple different locations and teams, and people are being much more aware of their surroundings, not just the Seattle area. Which reminded me few bad jokes from the weekend, because the surroundings reminded me. We went to Ikea on Saturday afternoon, and I tweeted some jokes already on this one earlier, but it's interesting to say there's 3 observations. And the first one, people have no clue on their surroundings and that there's other people in the store. So when they're pulling the carts, they just stop. And then they start pointing stuff, and a lot of people walking on the back and like, well, I'm trying. No.
So Ikea should do a better traffic management job, like priority lanes and.
But it's probably people are not that used to that many people, so they don't look back or whatever. But it's so funny. It happened like 25 times when you're walking through the showrooms and everything, and that people just stop, and you're like, well, I can't walk through you.
Just bump into them.
Exactly. Now the second thing was actually super funny. We were with wife. We were heading up the escalators to the second floor, which was the showrooms, and then there's the separate one where they sell all the stuff. So there was a like 4-year-old daughter talking to her father, and saying something like, we should go to the showrooms, and the father said, men do not go to showrooms. And then they went to the
showrooms.
No, they didn't went to the showrooms. They went to the whatever supermarketing area it is in the downstairs. But men do not go to the showrooms. Okay. He had clearly been having a really fun time over there. And then on the showrooms, actually, there was the one man that really started laughing with my wife, basically, or watching each other, and didn't make a sound, but almost. He was saying to his wife that, "Why am I here?"
Yes. Well, that feeling, that kind of, yeah. I understand his feeling.
Exactly.
Without any further details, but why am I doing this? Or I'm spending my vacation day doing something like this. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Part of life, I guess.
Part of life. Wondering why are you there?
Well, why am I?
Why am I here?
There?
Why are we doing this video?
Yes.
Why is this thing?
Okay.
What is this thing?
Stop. This will go out of control then.
Okay. Before we go to the articles, what about you? You've been on vacation now for what, 4 weeks? 3 weeks?
2 weeks vacation to do some work again, a couple of weeks vacation, and actually even a small vacation coming up soon again. So, it's vacation, cleaning up my mailbox, getting everything back in order, and then I'm gone again, and then the story repeats. So it's a bit of.
But that's because in Belgium. In Belgium, you have a separate amount of vacation days which you need to spend, right?
Yeah, well, I obviously want to spend my vacation days. If I don't spend them, they're just gone.
What do you mean? This is
so. It comes down to
you choose vacation on top of your job. You can't say that on camera. Come on.
That's how it is nowadays. No, but I think overall.
Sorry, Bert. That's a clear sign that you're getting old, right?
I know. Really?
And
actually, I was telling to my wife and my son like a couple of days ago, like, I didn't work this vacation. They said, yeah, that's normal. You shouldn't work during your vacation.
Yeah, I know. Right.
It was like, yeah, I actually didn't do that much work during this vacation. So it's getting old, yeah. But I did do some work, and it's kind of around the transformation. So supporting page transformation with some questions, some pending PRs, some good work there. So we can talk more about that, I think, later on.
There's an article coming up on that stuff as well. So let's talk about that one over there. But that's really your kind of a main concentration area right now on the.
It's a focus area, in general, modernization and helping folks to use our latest and greatest technologies. That's an important aspect for me, yes.
Yeah, and helping the adoption.
It's clear demand from customers, especially from big customers, to help them with this, because they need to have tools and guidance, and we do a good job, but we can definitely do a better job in that area, and so that's why we're doing this. And
like we talked before we started the recording, one of the key points there is actually education and informing the customers on the available tooling and the options, and then making sure that our partners and customers feel good enough on the open source tools to be able to execute their projects through them. So potentially getting an SLA and support for the open source tooling and all of that stuff, which is on the big pile of to-do lists on trying to figure out how do we do that. But I think sooner or later, one way or another, there has to be some sort of it's supported, but then getting additional support when you have questions and all of that stuff, it's important as well.
That's a fundamental thing to solve for us this fiscal, right? So how can we better support folks using our products? Because in a way, it is all open source, but we are also a little bit of a shipping products kind of thing. So we have release cycles. We treat it like a product, but there's still some steps to take to make it even more product-like, while still staying open source and giving everyone kind of insight and options to contribute and to work.
Because that brings flexibility and agility on the tooling. So open source is a good thing, but then what does it mean from the other side of the house as well, the supportability? And then there's the interesting discussion, which, to be honest, I never thought about this one before until Jeremy Kelly, a person from our team, actually pointed out this one, that as an example, in US, there's the US governmental cloud. And then in the governmental cloud, you can't execute open source stuff by default, or the assumption will be that it's nothing what they want to actually execute. Nope. So it's an interesting dilemma. But then at the same time, .NET Framework Foundation is an open source. So what does it mean? What's the SLA?
Yeah,
what's
the SLA? It kind of guess depends how you package it, how you ship it, what kind of quality control is behind it, and need supportability SLAs and all of those things. And so there is ways around these things, but it requires some further work.
Which isn't it's not a nice day work, right? It's painful bureaucracy and that kind of work.
So that's your work, and the other thing is your hobby, right? And you have 24 hours a day, so you spend 8 hours doing that, and you still have 16 hours left to do your hobby.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Oh, are you also getting old?
I'm getting old as well. I'm not doing 16 hours in a day anymore, so I'm getting old.
That's not really healthy and sustainable anyhow. So.
What do you mean? God. Anyway, definitely not a sustainable model. Nobody should be doing that. People should have sufficient amount of free time and family time and friends time as well. Now, let's get to the articles, and we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff during the articles as well. So let's just share my screen. Chris McNulty, let's start with this one. This came out on Thursday last week, so official Microsoft announcements and updates. So there's a lot of kind of in that the community will see more and more announcements on the document management side of the house. And that's because, well, not recently, but a while ago, there was a new team established around the document management and really kind of start betting investments and engineering resources on modernization, not modernization of existing documentation management of SharePoint, rather bringing modern documentation management to SharePoint in the modern experiences. So modernizing what we had is like, well, yeah, of course, but what else can we do? So what are the really the new integration options?
The world has changed between now and what we built years ago. So it makes sense to rethink it and
document ID providers and whatever those were and
record
centers and all of that stuff. So more and more announcements on that area, definitely. And on this one as well, I think the big days and announcements, really big ones, will be obviously in Ignite and again on the spring event next year. Ignite this year, obviously. And anyway. From here, new document management actions for SharePoint Flow. So minor versions checking in, major versions checking out. So more integrations on Flow side. SharePoint is really the widely using Flow because Flow is somebody said it really well. It's the cloud macro language for Office 365.
Which SharePoint is a real main user of it. So,
yes, that is true. That's true. Activity highlights on the file hover card. I did run into this pretty recently in our internal systems, and it was cool to see actually that it works really well because it was showing my actions as well on the particular document. So you can see what's going to happen per document itself. So really cool data. Bulk approvals. So not one by one. You can rather do operations on the.
That's a really nice one because many people ask that one. Being able to select multiple documents and do bulk actions on them. And really cool to finally see that pop up in a modern UI.
Exactly. Absolutely. But that's kind of a 3 new announcements over there. Then we had a few announcements on the SharePoint Pages and News authoring as well. These are from 12th of August. We didn't go this through on the last time. I don't think so, but if we no, we didn't. No,
we didn't. These are quite new. So
yeah. Under Redo is working on the pages. That was cool to see. I was writing a really long news article last week, and my fingers are working without me thinking. So I noticed that the cancel was working really nicely when I did a typo. So and copy pasting, by the way, works, and the filing and drag and dropping files, which is really cool. So you're able to drag and drop file directly on the page, and it gets uploaded and included on the site. So that's really, really cool.
What I also noticed, well, on this one, it's not really probably mentioned, but nowadays, so in the past when you had a text part, there's no way to get an image in there. Of stain an image in there. Nowadays, if you pasted HTML, which points to an image, like you copy a Word document, has an image, you paste it in, it kind of retains that. So it's pretty cool. And that really is handy in transformation scenarios where we kind of take on premises a wiki page with text and an image that now nicely stays image stays embedded inside the text on the same spot. So it's pretty cool.
So it's not a text element, an image element.
We used to split them apart, and
exactly.
now we can just leave it as is. And so,
really cool.
Gives a better experience.
And then this one has been a lot of people have been waiting for this one. So vertical sections. So you're able to do kind of a separate sections, and that definitely adds more flexibility on the layouts and how they would actually work, because you're able to have that vertical there, and then these are different.
And this is also something that will add to PnP Sites Core, to the Pages APIs implementation. So it's not there yet.
What do I mean? It's your first day after vacation. Come on.
Let's say maybe I'm not hard committing on September, but definitely for October it will be in the release.
Yeah, I can imagine the high demand on that one as well. So, but again, in the Sites Core side of the house, it's been a vacation period, and now it's been delaying some of the integrations over here. Recommendations. So you may also be interested on, so kind of if you're reading an article based on the content of the article, it is then showing you basically the recommendations, and on-page anchors, really important thing.
That's really nice. Yeah. Absolutely. So you can just grab a URL to a heading and share that, and then you directly navigate to that particular heading in the page.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. See, page anchors are here. Hooray from Price. So other people are finding that happy as well. But really cool stuff. Things are evolving one step at a time. There's really cool stuff in the pipeline, and for me, I really prefer this kind of an option that we're getting these things gradually as fast as possible, rather than waiting again once a year, big boom. But again, debatable. Somebody might actually like that kind of a model as well. From a change management perspective, that might be easier. But then this brings more agility, absolutely.
And more value. Shorter time to value.
No, well, yes, from that perspective, absolutely.
For you as a customer, meaning.
Sure.
Why would you?
Well, change management. If you're concerned on training your employees, that's an interesting debate. But adaptation of functionality perspective, from an end user adaptation and usage perspective, an important decision what customers need to do, right? How do we?
But often these new things are kind of opt-in things that you can use, that we don't force upon you, and then. There is still a change management impact, but maybe it's easier to absorb versus something that we push and say, like, now it works like this. That's indeed a big impactful event. You try to not do that often.
Yep, that's true. Cool. A few other things from last week. SharePoint Framework. SharePoint Framework. Let's dismiss that one. SharePoint Framework 1.9.1 is out. So we had a 1.9 went out roughly on mid-July. So I was working during my vacation time because I was helping on getting that one out. But then there was an issue related on local workbench, and then there was a decision on pulling 1.9 to reduce the confusion of that one, so that it won't be the version which is getting installed when people start approaching the SharePoint framework or using that first time. And then 1.9.1 is now out, which is fixing that mainly, but there's a lot of other kind of good things here as well, which were in 1.9 as well, like the library components in GA. We're using Webpack 4, Teams SDK up to 1.4.2. 1.10 version is being currently planned and locked, and that's planned to go out actually on 10th of September is the working date right now. We'll see. I can't promise will that date stick, but it's the second Tuesday of every single month is the working date, and what we're now aiming. Good. This one is more on your role. So
on modernization, and this is actually a really nice blog post from Paul Bullock, and he has a couple of blog posts around modernization. But he is working with big clients which have a need to modernize portals. Those portals live in on-premises, even SharePoint 2010 portals in on-prem, and he is using PnP tooling, PnP PowerShell, page transformation tech to make it happen. Yep. And there's different kind of flavors of possible architectures and patterns that you can apply to do such a transformation. This is one of the examples. Like, you could indeed think about, let's first move the portal from on-prem to online and then do the modernization, which was our initial kind of thinking model, and that's what's documented in this blog post. No, recently we did do some changes in PnP page transformation tech, and which is inside PnP PowerShell, which actually allows you to do directly from on-prem to online. So nowadays you can
so let me zoom in here.
Yeah.
So this one
can
is
you
the
draw
old
an
model.
error? Just the old model.
So, wrong way. No.
No, you just draw an error from SharePoint 20.
This one was the original one, right?
Yes.
So you basically, I'm just repeating the steps. You take the existing site, you run the tool, the PnP tooling, and then
tooling to move it over
you
there.
move it there, and then you do a transformation. And typically, if there's multiple subsites and structure is large, you flip
you build new information architecture and all of these things, and then you kind of move the page, transform the pages from classic pages into modern client-side pages.
But now
this has a disadvantage that you have to move the portal to online, which means that you might have to fix things before it works online. So it's quite cumbersome. What we do nowadays is we directly go, like the green arrow points. You can still use third-party tools to move documents and list items, because that's something that you have to do. But for the pages, you directly go from SharePoint on-prem to online. Yeah. So there's no need to move all those pages over to online first and to modernize them. You simply connect SharePoint PowerShell to your on-prem SharePoint 2010, 2013, 2016, 2019 environment. And then you can start modernizing pages. And the reason why 2010 is important is because people might say, like, yeah, why are you still using 2010? Well, there are people using 2010, and 2010 goes out of extended support this year in October.
Oh, good point.
So if you still have 2010 running somewhere, somehow, really, it's completely out of support in October 2010. So no way you can call Microsoft for anything around 2010 at that point. So
on which time? Can you repeat the timing? What was
October,
the date?
October this year.
October 2019.
Extended support. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's a really important thing to realize. Absolutely.
And that's also one of the reasons why we kind of did some work, and especially Paul did a lot of work in that area around enabling 2010 support for page transformation. Yeah. We use CSOM combined with some web services because 2010 CSOM isn't really that complete versus 2013, 2016, etc. So it's but Paul did a good job there, and he's using this for his clients, and it works really well.
And he's contributing back when he
contributed back to our GitHub repo, and he's one of the main contributors to the page transformation technology nowadays. So yeah, thanks for that, Paul.
And like I said, even though I put in X's and everything else, just to be super clear, you can do take the site to the SharePoint Online and then do the transformation, but you can do a direct transformation as well.
You have a choice.
Yeah, regardless of the model which you choose, URLs are going to be broken anyway because you can't keep the URLs which are moving from on-premises to the cloud. That's just, that's impossible in the 99.99999%.
Yeah, that's assuming you'll have a new URL. Now we do have URL transformation, so meaning the system will try to kind of match up URLs with the new location.
Yeah,
you can even specify your own custom list of URLs. This source URL goes to this target URL, and we'll just try to kind of fix up URLs on the go during the migration. So, yeah. Try to handle that.
Cool.
So, yeah,
really cool stuff.
There's still some things pending there, but it really starts to be a mature product, even for on-prem to online directly.
Yeah, and the in quotes the product, you mean basically this one, which is the PnP PowerShell, the code, and you can. It's released as a NuGet package, and it's available in the PowerShell as well, right?
Yeah, PowerShell or just using the NuGet package in your own custom code is the easiest way to consume the transformation tech. Yeah.
Cool. That's really cool. For whatever reasons, I need to do one marker still in yellow, so I can show every single color. Really cool stuff.
I want a purple marker.
I don't actually.
Show me a purple. I think you can change the colors probably.
Yes, there's a purple marker. There we go.
See.
Okay.
So people happy now.
Yes, and if somebody is wondering, it's Zoom It. Please, it's brilliant tool when you're presenting in conferences or in these kind of things. Zoom It, free from Microsoft. Now let's go in here. This one was really good from Hugo. Hugo been really active on the community side of things. He's been around clearly for a long time because his blog post URL is Tahoe Ninjas. What was the Tahoe? Tahoe is the code name of SharePoint 2001. So it's 2019. I had no clue at 2001 what is SharePoint. So I'm young.
Same here.
Cool. So Hugo basically is doing an awesome job here explaining around, hey, I want to contribute to any of the open source community or the source repositories in GitHub. What would I do? What do I click here? You go somewhere here, you fork that underneath your own identity. That comes to be as a copy of that repo, and then what it means that when you're submitting a code, really detailed and one step at a time example how to make things happen.
Yeah, really recommend everyone who's not yet familiar with this, check this out, because he clearly shows how to indeed be able to update your local forked repo, so you can pull changes from our main repo back into your forked repo. And he also teaches you how to create a separate branch for a change. Because you can create a change on dev branch and then submit it to us, which is fine. But if you want to do two things in parallel, these things will mix up if you don't put them on separate branches. So having a separate branch, you can create a separate PR per change, per fix that you do, which enables you to then build like a clean PR only focusing on the particular fix, which makes it then easier for us again to process your PR, because if you get a PR with tens of different things in there, it's really hard to understand why is this done and what's the reason of this. So having clean, small PRs focusing on one particular issue, one particular feature really helps a lot.
Absolutely. A really great stuff here, Hugo. Thank you for that one. Now, this one was actually a hard thing to find, because there was a title, a message in Twitter related on this one. Then you click that one, you got a access denied. But we were able to resolve the URL. And now it's getting more visibility, because this is actually adding a title to your web part, just like out of the box SharePoint framework. So out of the box SharePoint framework web parts, they have that title field, so you're able to write whatever you want in the content of the web part. And that behavior is not by default in the scaffolded web part. So you need to do something to actually make that happen. And this is basically an extension then to the Hello World Part 1 series, which is it's actually written by me, original by the way by Jax, but then I took an ownership of this one from Jax years ago, and then have been evolving that from there. So basically, you do this, and then what do you need to do next of adding then the title web part in, or title behavior? And this is basically then this functionality in here. So you have a web part title, kind of a control embedded and available here. Andrew has. Thank you, Andrew, for this one. A simple thing, but it's really valuable that people know how easy it is actually to do. And you can do this by using the PMP SPFX controls. This is an initiative under the PMP brand, which is led by Elias Struif, and a lot of contributions from the community on that side as well. But basically, you install a specific NPM package at PMP SPFX controls React, and then just take that into use, and that's it. Now you basically then have the web part with a web part title, and you're able to edit that, and that's getting saved for the web part properties as well. So really cool stuff. Really useful. You might think that we would actually have this by default as an option in the box.
Well, we do have an option now, and it's a really popular control. It is. Many people are using it in the web parts. So, and this blog really describes how easy it is to use it. So, it's as good as it would be inside the product, I think.
Correct.
This gives you the flexibility, at least.
Absolutely. And if somebody is wondering why aren't we releasing that out-of-the-box control as a separate control, that's an engineering decision, and that would be relatively complex, at least right now, to differentiate those controls from our code base. So what we've done is, by design, we now kind of release some of the first-party controls as part of the PMP React controls or the property pane controls. So we kind of, this way, they have their own life without impacting the first-party experience, which is a good thing, because first-party is evolving faster on the Fabric support and whatever support than the real world. So it provides flexibility
it's
as well.
Different worlds, meaning Well,
Yeah.
not exactly, but I think that we do have some connection between this external controls versus internal controls, so we can share some knowledge and
absolutely
against them.
Absolutely.
So we'll give you the best experience possible.
Now, this one was interesting from Ed Skelly, related on teamifying classic SharePoint time using Office 365 CLI. So CLI and what is the command for groupifying a classic team site, SPO site groupify, and with team site and the alias. So basically, CLI, which is our cross-platform command line tool, open source tool as well, can be used to groupify the site and then themify the site as well. So there are separate commands then for those operations, so you can easily do that. Now, if you're using a Windows platform, if you're using a Windows computer, you can do this using PnP Sites Core or SharePoint Online PowerShell or PowerShell PnP PowerShell. So the PowerShell option, however, right now is not available in the non-Windows platform, and that's precisely the reason why the Office 365 CLI exists. Good. There is some progress on the .NET Standard side of the house, but of the season, which is pre-requirement for
Ignite is coming again.
6 and Ignite is coming. We'll see what's going to happen there. So, and column formatting with PnP PowerShell. This one is from David Ramalho. He's a PowerShell automation guy. So he's showing here his column formatting definition, JSON definition, which there's a lot of different samples around the column formatting available for you actually in GitHub as well. So if, by the way, I can actually column formatting. So if you search for this, you'll find the SharePoint Dev list formatting. And then here, if you go to the column samples, there's like 60 different samples in here. Chris Kent is really helping on aggregating and getting stuff and samples available here. But any of those can absolutely be assigned to any existing field in SharePoint. You could use the site settings or list settings, but let's say that you have tens of thousands of sites and you want that same definition to be on the hundreds of sites or thousands of sites, then using a PowerShell makes much more sense. Except don't never share your password in the PowerShell, but
oh, yeah, that's not a real password, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you could obviously ask the person to sign in, but anyway, that's a side discussion on this. But basically, the column formatting definitions are stored in the SP field object and the custom formatter properties, so quite easily updatable by using these options and CSM and PowerShell, which is available.
Yeah, you could do maybe one little change to the script. Could invoke PnP query instead of the execute query.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Because then we do it with the right retry mechanisms in case you.
Oh, that's actually a good point to note. Yes. So if you're executing the context execute query, this is actually CSM operation for executing the pending operations to a SharePoint Online. It works, but if there's a 427s or 503s, so basically the server is being too busy. 429. What am I saying? 429. Anyway, if the server is too busy and it basically starts throwing exceptions, so no, I'm too busy, I can't handle this. If you would execute PnP invoke, what is PnP invoke?
Invoke PnP.
Invoke PnP.
We cross-check to be really sure that I don't make any. Erwin will.
Yeah, that's true. Come
invoke PnP query.
PnP query. So this one is part of the PnP PowerShell, and what it actually does, it automatically handles and throttling situations. So it backs off and delays and re-executes the query if there was an exception after a while. It actually does that by default. I think 5 times is the default value, if I remember correctly. But basically, it's backing off more on the execution.
Any code that you write nowadays should use throttle safe mechanisms.
Throttle safe mechanisms, yes, which are not actually natively in CSM. They are in the PnP extension, but they're not in the native CSM. So as a conclusion, if you write CSM code or PowerShell, you should use PnP CSM. So
is that even a question? Meaning,
fair point. I'm not going to have that discussion right now. Okay, then this one was really interesting as well. Not necessarily from a development. You might say that this is not development, this is scripting. But again, PowerShell, is that development or is that scripting or what is it? I would say PowerShell was an evil scam which we introduced back in 2010 to teach IT pros how to do development, and it has worked out quite well. But the whole point here is that you're able to invoke a site, a communication site in a different location to be flipped as the root site of your tenant. And that's actually really, really, really cool. Yes. So basically this way, if you have used, let's say, a communication site, and that's been your corporate landing page, and it's not in the root of your tenant, because in the past, the root of the tenant was always a classic theme site. Using this PowerShell command, like poof, you're able to flip that site collection there. We did talk about this one already before the recording. You said, Bert, that this does not work for publishing sites, right?
No. So yeah, you have to first of all. This is a general swap site functionality. It doesn't have to be the root site, I think it can, but it doesn't work for publishing portals. So it only works for team sites or search centers. You could also replace your search center with a modern search center type solution, a communication site. But I think the main usage scenario here is indeed for customers which have a tenant for a long while already, which don't have like a modern communication site as root.
Yeah,
you can just take your existing company portal and make it the root of your tenant. You don't have to move stuff in that root site. You could we also have options to upgrade your root site to a communication site.
Sure.
But then you still have an empty communication site. So depending on your situation, it might make way more sense to say like this particular site will be my root site now.
Yep.
The URL will change though, so it's a real URL. This aligns to the functionality that we have to change URLs.
That's true.
From an existing site collection. This is using the same technology underneath, but this is like doing the whole swapping at once for you.
Yep, really cool. Really cool. Now, and recapping on that one, you have two different options. You have enable communication site in the root of your tenant. One way of getting the communication site on the root of the tenant. If you have a classic theme site over there on new tenants, they have communication site in the root of the tenant URL. Root of the tenant URL meaning your tenant URL is in tenant name SharePoint.com. And then you can do the swapping as well if you have an existing communication site which you would like to have in the root of your tenant. So you're able to flip it there.
Yep.
Cool. Now that the SharePoint Framework 1.9.1 is out, people might be actually wondering, how would I upgrade my existing solutions to SharePoint Framework 1.9.1? And the easiest, really the most powerful tool to help you on as part of this transition is to use Office 365 CLI. So even though you wouldn't actually use Office 365 CLI for anything else, highly recommend to check this out. This is really, really, really cool. We used, for example, this tool to upgrade SharePoint Starter Kit at some point to 1.8.2 version, and it really calls out all of the different operations what you need to do. So basically, you execute an SPFX project upgrade to which version and an output MD, and that will then give you the list of operations what you need to perform to make that to be part of 1.9.1, or in this case, to version 1.8.2.
Yeah,
so really cool. And the support for
why is this in the product first?
I'll just walk away. So, and the support for 1.9.1 came, I think, less than 24 hours after we released 1.9.1. So it was out pretty much on the same evening, so a few hours later. There was a discussion actually on Twitter how Velin and Waldek and the other people who are running the CLI, how they're doing this. They're basically doing a diff analysis on the files. So they have a project which is in 1.8.2 version, and then a new project which is created in 1.9.1, and then they do a diff on, okay, so what has been changed.
Like a folder diff, and then you see all the files changed, and you can kind of figure out what is.
One thing to notice on this one, it gives you the steps to do the upgrade. It doesn't actually do you the upgrades, and that's by design. So you'll know basically what are the steps to be able to do, and then you can think through what you're doing when you're applying those steps as well. So good. And Parker got some visibility there as well. So good. That was the column formatting, and that was the InWeb PnP. That's all what we're going to do in article side today. So let me actually close up. We've been chatting again for a while. This definitely wasn't a 30-minute discussion, but hey,
I'm in vacation mode. I have time. So
yeah, exactly. I'm catching up on emails. I'd rather do this than catching up on
yes.
emails.
You read my mind.
I'm still trying to catch up on all of my emails after working 2 weeks. It's just really hard.
Sometimes it's insane, yeah.
Yeah. But it is what it is. Any last words from your side? What are we expecting you to work on for upcoming things, upcoming weeks? Give us the vertical modern pages, vertical.
Yeah, in general, I think I didn't really look at the PRs, but I can imagine there's a ton of PRs waiting for me to have a look at, especially around modern pages, around modernization. I think there is some work ongoing around being able to export data with PnP SiteScore. So we have some contributions in that area as well. So yeah, I think PnP SiteScore, modernization, guidance around that
engine
one.
In general.
Engine in general. There's a ton of work in that area that I need to focus on.
We are really on. Well, we're currently really planning that quite carefully. What are the things what we need to do? But there will be definitely further investments on the modern not just the modernization engine, but also the templating engine, tenant templating engine, because the provisioning service, the provisioning SharePoint will be redesigned and modernized and all of that stuff, and more on all of this stuff latest on Ignite. So there's really great set of plans.
A lot of good things to come.
Yes. Now the challenge is that we need to actually execute. so
we're working on the less smoke and mirrors. And
exactly. So let's actually close up the recording and jump back on executing.
Yes. All right.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.